Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be going over homeostasis, the characteristics of life, and overview of body systems. So now let's begin. First of all, what is anatomy and physiology? Anatomy is the scientific discipline that investigates the body structure such as the size and shape of a bone, and physiology is the scientific investigation of the processes or functions of living things. Now, anatomy and physiology are studied together because they are interwoven and changes in one will affect the other, and structure and function interdependently. Okay, now the structural and functional organization of the human body. Obviously, at the lowest level is the chemical level, and these involves interactions of atoms and molecules. And the interactions of atoms and molecules come together and are really important in the formation of organelles. Now, the next level is the cell level, and the cell level are the structural and functional unit of living organisms. And then the next level is the tissue level, and the tissue level involves a group of similar cells and the materials surrounding them. And there are four types: epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous. The next level is the organ level, and this involves two or more tissues functioning together. And then after that is the organ system level, which involves a group of organs functioning together. For example, this involves the digestive system, the respiratory system, the urinary system, and more. And lastly is the organism level. And the organism level is any living thing, whether composed of one cell or many. It can be a cat, a human being, or more. Okay, next, body systems. First, we'll be going over the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system transports nutrients, waste, products, gases, and hormones throughout the body. It plays a role in the immune response and in the regulation of body temperature, and it consists of the heart, blood vessels, and obviously blood. Next is the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system removes foreign substances from the blood and lymph, and it combats diseases and maintains tissue fluid balance and absorbs fats from the digestive tract, and it consists of the lymphatic vessels, lymph nodes, and other lymphatic organs. The next system is the integumentary system. The integumentary system provides protection, regulates temperature, prevents water loss, and helps produce vitamin D. And it consists of the skin, hair, nails, and sweat glands. Next is the skeletal system. The skeletal system provides protection and support, and it also allows body movement, produces blood cells, and it stores minerals and fats. And it consists of bones, associated cartilage, ligaments, and joints. And next is the nervous system. The nervous system is a major regulatory system that detects sensation and controls movement, physiological processes, and intellectual functions. And it consists of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and sensory receptors. And next is the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system produces oocytes and is the site of fertilization and fetal development. It produces milk for the newborn, produces hormones that influence sexual functions and behavior. And it consists of the ovaries, uterus, mammary glands, and associated structures, and more. And next is the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system produces and transfers sperm cells to the female and produces hormones that influence sexual functions and behaviors. And it consists of the testes, accessory structures, ducts, and more. Next is the muscular system. The muscular system produces body movement, maintains posture, and produces body heat. And it consists of muscles that are attached to the skeleton by tendons. Next is the urinary system, and it removes waste products from the blood. It regulates blood pH, iron balance, and water balance. And it consists of the kidneys, urinary bladder, and ducts that carry urine. Next is the endocrine system, which is a major regulatory system that influences metabolism, growth, reproduction, and many other functions. It consists of the glands such as the pituitary that secretes hormones. And next is the digestive system. The digestive system performs the mechanical and chemical processes of digestion, absorption of nutrients, and the elimination of waste. It consists of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, intestines, and accessory organs. Lastly is the respiratory system. The respiratory system exchanges oxygen and carbon dioxide between the blood and air and regulates blood pH. It consists of the lungs and the respiratory passages. Now, we talk about the characteristics of life in homeostasis. The characteristics of life include first, organization. Organization is the condition in which there are specific interrelationships and functions among parts of the body. Next is metabolism. Metabolism is the ability to use energy to perform vital functions in all chemical reactions of the body. Next is responsiveness. And responsiveness is the ability to sense changes in the interior and exterior environment and adjust, and it involves cell to cell communication. And in responsiveness, cell to cell communication is necessary. Next is development, and development are changes in an organism over time. And next is differentiation, which is a change from general to specific. And after that is growth, which is the increase in size and or number of cells. And lastly, reproduction, which is the formation of new cells or new organisms for growth and development, and it allows organisms to pass on their genes to their offspring. And in order to memorize the characteristics of life, I would advise you to come up with an acronym or a saying or a phrase for you to remember them, because most likely if you take anatomy and physiology, at some point you will be tested on what are the characteristics of life. Okay, now homeostasis. Homeostasis is a balance in the body's internal environment. It involves feedback loops, including positive and negative feedback loops. Basically, homeostasis is regulated by feedback loops that allow for a process to be adjusted by the outcome. There are two types of feedback loops, are negative again and positive feedback. And the components of a feedback loop include first a receptor, which monitors the value of some variable by detecting a stimulus, which is basically a change in the variable. And then there's a control center, which establishes the set point and receives input from the receptor. And then there's an effector, which generates the response, which can change the value of the variable. And then positive feedback is, for example, it's unusual in normal, healthy individuals, but it leads away from homeostasis and can actually result in depth. But again, positive feedback does not always mean it's not always negative. It can also be positive. For example, it's really positive in childbirth, lactation, and blood clotting, but it can be negative, like during hemorrhage, whenever blood pressure drops and the heart's ability to pump blood decreases. And the effectors continue the response beyond the set point until the original stimulus is removed. Basically, what that means is that positive feedback increases the response of the stimulus, so it kind of brings it a lot further away from the body's normal ranges. But negative feedback brings the body back to homeostasis and brings the body back to the body's normal ranges. And that will be all for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.